So
nice.
Be real. But look at the beginning, folks, to see the blunder I make in the beginning. If you're going to hustle a hustler, what you shouldn't do. Let's just play it a little bit. My blunder in the beginning.
I'm good. What's your name?
Wilson.
Wilson, where you from?
Boom, hit.
Stop.
Oh,
You Jamaican? Yeah, I was.
Stop. Can you tell, Tim, what was my blunder right there? What did I do wrong?
What was your blunder? You know, part of me wants to give you credit for deliberately mispronouncing his name. I don't know if that was an accident or on purpose. I don't know what your blunder was here.
Let me see if my crew can figure it out. What was the blunder? Who can tell? Asking if he's Jamaican? Well, okay, he's Haitian, so that was a little rib. But no, that was not the blunder. Not looking at the pieces? Nope. Okay, we got a chat that's trying to come up with what my blunder was at the beginning. And I just showed it to you. It's like it's just there. Folks, let's run it one time back because I can't believe people didn't catch it. Let's see it again.
Wilson.
Wilson, where you from?
Boom, hit.
Where you from?
Oh,
You Jamaican? Yeah, I was.
no.
Stop. Stop again. Knowing that the clock goes on your right, that's a good guess. That's a good guess. That's a good guess. I fixed the clock. That's a good guess. But that's not the blunder. When you're a well-known grandmaster with a name in chess, what shouldn't you do when you're in front of a hustler?
Introduce yourself.
You shouldn't ask his name.
Yeah.
You shouldn't ask his name. I just did it out of courtesy. It's later that I realized, like, whoa, what did I do? Because by saying, what's your name? If he were a polite person, thank goodness if it wasn't, he would have said, Wilson, what's your name? In which case I'd have been like, oh, wait a minute. Because if I said Maurice, he would have been, Maurice, you mean you have me play Maurice Ashley? It would have been a totally different video. It would have been something different. Because he did know my name, he just didn't know my face. So that blunder, later when he says, you didn't even tell me your name. Well, dude, if you had asked me my name, I might have had to come up with a name on the spot. I might have to say, my name is Tim. Right? Like, I make something up. Because I just reached out and, what's your name? Shouldn't have done that. That was a blunder. Only later did I think about it. It's like, you know, this video needed so many interesting elements to come together to make it work. And one of them was the fact that he just simply didn't ask me back, what's your name? Right? As simple as that. And that
Lucky break.
I mean, it's like, you know, things came together, the universe came together for that to happen. But let's move forward to 131 in this video as well. At 131, we see you make a distinct appearance right here. There you are, right? So you know, you're hanging out looking just like folks in Washington Square Park. Like, you know, like you play there every day.
Just hanging like I do in Washington Square Park.
That's right. That's what you do. That's what you do. And a lot of people look at this scene and they go, is this Tim Ferris? Like, why is Tim Ferris there? Even when it says on the video, the Tim Ferris experiment, it's still like, why is Tim Ferris in this video? And there you are. Now, tell us a little bit more about the Tim Ferris experiment, because you talked about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and chess. What else were you hacking? Like, what?
Oh my God.
So many episodes.
Yeah, I'm still nursing injuries, sort of moral, psychic, and physical from the Tim Ferriss experiment. So the Tim Ferriss experiment was a suicide mission of sorts. It was 13 weeks straight of filming, and every week was a different skill, and I would cram my ass off for, let's say, 4 or 5 days, and then have a test at the end of some type. And we would have a half day perhaps to move locations if need be, and then start the whole process over again.
Oh my God. Seriously?
It was brutal. It was brutal. The first episode was parkour. I tore. It was a terrible decision on my part. Parkour. Yeah, parkour. First episode of 12 or 13, and I tore, I want to say almost all of my quadriceps muscles on both legs, which was not conducive to the rest of the season. So we did everything from golf to Tagalog, which is a language in the Philippines, to rally car racing, and everything you can imagine. I mean, we had a lot of different skills, including this episode, which was chess and jiu-jitsu specific, but man, it was the one of the most physically punishing things I have ever done. I didn't really fully grasp just how intense it would be, because you imagine, like, we're doing something like this all day long. Like, you look at this video, I mean, this is the evening, right? We've been going since God knows when, 7 a.m. And then we finished recording, and I was also a producer on the show. So we'd finish recording. I'm completely wiped out and taxed. And then I would have another few hours of reviewing the dailies or the rough cuts from whatever we had from that day or a previous episode. And so I'm basically going to bed at 2 a.m., waking up at 6 or 7, and just doing that for 13 weeks straight. Yeah, it was crazy.
Talent doesn't do that. No, when I want to show you, excuse me, can I have some water, please?
Yeah, it shows you just how stupid and self-defeating and masochistic one can be, even when they have lots of options on the table. So old habits die hard, I suppose.
Delegate. That's the secret.
Delegate. Even with a big team, you can take on too much. And I had some tremendous experiences. This I remember watching this live, and it was so fun to watch live, because when you've let the genie out of the bottle, like, you can see, and it's not hard to see, anyone could see it, but like when it's just going down and like the magic is happening, like, it's so obvious and everyone feels it. And that was one of those moments where I was like, God, please let it be the case that these cameras and all the audio are working right now. It was so fun.
The big moment that makes this whole video real, like, without this moment, it's just yakking back and forth, is when the epic double night capture happened. That's
totally.
Let's get back to this moment, folks. We're going to break this moment down. Let's fast forward to the moment when the double night capture happens. Right. Let's see it. Right. Is it right here? Oh yeah. Let's go a little bit further, a little bit back. It's a little bit back. A little bit back. It's got to be a little bit, like 10 seconds before that, producer. Oh yeah. They're gonna redo it. Like, do it real time first, and then in slow mo. Here we go.
Yeah, I think he's in trouble. Wait a minute. Let me get rid of this guy. He's not friendly. Whoa. That's trickery now. Is that how the trickery works? That was like a magic trick. I like the way you did that. Nothing happened. That was like a magic trick. Nothing happened. Piece disappeared. Nothing happened. Board. What?
Let me tell you, pause. Tim, I have been around chess for decades, 4 decades to be precise. Okay, I grew up playing chess with hustlers in the park. Not Washington Square, partially Washington Square Park, when there were the Vinnie Livermores of the world, when there was the Ralph Malphs of the world, Paul the Russian. I mean, those guys in the Washington Square Park. I grew up in Brooklyn, BK, playing with the hustlers in Prospect Park, Fulton Park, Ronald McNair Park. We got a robust park chess scene. For those of you who are chess fans, you go to New York City, you could just be bouncing from park to park to park and playing against chess players everywhere. I have seen a lot of things, including players when the old clocks, when they would figure out how to make the clock, your side go faster while their side went slower, like on an old analog clock, like that kind of hustle. Or when they know, when you're in time pressure, move your piece that's closest to the clock. Doesn't matter what movie you're moving. Just move the piece that's closer to the clock, because that way you don't have to reach across the board and hit the clock. So sensible moves are irrelevant when you're in kind of time pressure. I've seen a ton of hustles and hustlers. All right, hustlers doing hustles. I have never seen anybody try to take two pieces at the same time. Like, never. What is that? Who does that? He actually thought I wasn't going to see. I mean, it's like right in front. He doesn't even do it well. That's the funny part. He doesn't even do it well. If you're going to do it in flow. You know, like, boom. I mean, he doesn't even do it. Look at this. He picks one up, puts the new one on the square, and then captures. What kind of thing is that to do to capture? Capture it all in one move, and they can disappear and make me go, what just happened? What just happened? Right? That was hyper funny. But the worst part is he couldn't help himself. He did it on camera.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
People were filming. What? I can't. Have you ever seen anything like that? Brazen?
No, not at all. I mean, like, part of me just is like, you know what? Good for you. I mean, I like the balls required to do that on camera pretty sloppily is I mean, it's just so remarkable that yeah, it's mind-boggling at the end of the day is what it is.
I like the fact that he fumbled it. You heard me say it's like a magic trick, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's deep. And it occurs to me, as you can see, it occurred to me right there. I was like, that's deep. That is something people could have been trying against duffers who showed up, thinking they're playing a fair game. And if the guy does it well, your piece disappears from the board and you have no idea. And it doesn't even have to be a piece. It could just be a pawn. Just went up, whoop, it's gone. And you're busy just playing fast, and a pawn's gone, and you don't even know that, this guy secretly pocketed a pawn. I mean, David Blaine could play chess. He may not know how to play chess. You were busy trying to hack chess. Little did you know, you should have been having magic tricks, like having pawns disappear up your sleeve while you were playing the game, right? Who would have known if you're just like, whoop, whoop? I'm like, where'd my pieces go? I thought I had stuff on the board. Where'd they go? Like that's doable. That's actually doable. I know a lot of people out there saying, no way I would be hustled like that. That's doable.
Yeah. If you think you can't be hustled, you are the most susceptible to being hustled.
Good point. And then let's jump to the finish line of this one. Big moment when he realizes, like that's a sweet moment in the video when he realizes that it's like, what? Now he's busy saying cut, and let's finish off the video and the moment of realization. Which of course he's doing because he doesn't want them to film anymore. No more money. But then here it goes.
I mean it. Yeah. I mean it.
I mean it.
Maurice, Ashley. Are you ready?
Grandmaster. So there he was stunned when I said Maurice Ashley. And then somebody says, are you rated? And then another voice comes, not my voice, somebody else, one of the hustlers who did know what was going on, who says, Grandmaster. And his voice is so beautiful when he said Grandmaster, right?
It's so good.
It's like we paid him to do it. Like, let's get back again. Just hear when he says Grandmaster. I love this sound of this. No, right before this. Okay, we jumped a little bit ahead. Here.
Maurice, Ashley. Are you ready?
Grandmaster. Yo, that was funny. Now, again, much respect to Wilson for his abilities, because I could not beat him easily. I'm going to tell you straight up. It wasn't like it was just whap, 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 and I beat him. The guy played a serious game, right? And he played too quickly as well. He should have played slower. He had more time on the clock, but he didn't know who I was at the start. He drops the line, hey, you're an expert. Well, that was interesting as well when he thought I was an expert because I wasn't looking at the pieces. But I think he just said that to try to throw me off. Have you seen any of that go on in any other fields? Like the MIT folks who went to Vegas and hacked blackjack. Anything
for sure.
Like you can, you talk about cutting corners. You didn't exactly say it like that, but anything you can relate to in the same way?
Well, I mean, the piece that jumps out to me, the component is the psychological warfare component. And you see that everywhere. I mean, you see it in The Last Dance in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You see it
Michael Jordan video.
Absolutely. You see it in Arnold Schwarzenegger and his approach to bodybuilding competitions, which you wouldn't necessarily assume have a psychological component, but they absolutely do. It applies everywhere. So the ability to destabilize an opponent, I think, is maybe undervalued from a psychological perspective as a strategic or tactical advantage. So for sure, I've seen that in many other disciplines.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take another quick break, everyone, and we're going to come back because I want to dive deep into that as we look for specific tips and techniques for becoming higher performers in whatever it is that we do. We'll be right back after a quick break. You are on the GM Ashley stream with Tim Ferris. See you on the other side. And we are back on the stream with the man himself, Tim Ferris. Tim, I've been so looking forward to this show. When I first heard from you, you said, yeah, I can be on your show. This was months ago. This was like December. And I had to space out the big dogs, the gangsters who would show up. And, I had Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show. I had Jizza from Wu-Tang Clan on the show. I had some names. I had some big names. I had Fabiano Caruana on the show. So I couldn't just throw all the good stuff right. I'd run out of people. So I couldn't do that. So I made sure that I spaced it out. And the fact that we had to also coordinate with your schedule, get all that tight, right and tight. So this has been a while before we finally got to this point. So I'm really grateful that you made it, put it in your schedule, make this happen. And it's been a ton of fun. I knew it would.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. So it's a pleasure to spend time with you.
Anytime, bro. Anytime. Now let's get to something that I want, some takeaways, quick takeaways for folks watching now before we get deeper into conversation. And that where I want to go are inspirational, inspirational authors on the question of high performance. Like stuff that you think about is like, you know what, you got to read this person. You've got to read that person. Here's something that really motivated me. And it may not be that it's directly high performance, but it was so inspiring to you, you thought, that's money. You've got to read this. So let's do it. I'm going to type in the names in the chat so folks can do that as well. But I'm going to type in names. I'm going to do that chat. You can see you as I type in, as Tim Ferris talks. But what I like you to do is you only have, it's a 30-second ad. You don't have long. You got the name and you got why. Right. Okay? All right. So first thing that comes to your mind.
All right. I might include some non-authors, but the first who comes to mind is Naval Ravikant. Mm-hmm. And I think he's just got a mastery of multiple areas. He's very multidisciplinary and really does not care about consensus or social pressure. I would say Yuval Noah Harari, who's the author of Sapiens, comes to mind as well. He creates a lot of space in his life, so a sense of spaciousness. He does, I think, 2 or 3 months of Vipassana silent meditation per year. A very interesting guy. And I would add Maria Popova to that, Popova, who runs Brain Pickings, and her volume of high caliber, really discerned discourse on multiple topics is just unlike anyone I've ever seen. Wow, so I would say Maria Popova is amazing. All of these people are probably people I've had on the podcast at one point or another. The next person I would add is BJ Miller, and performance might be a strange term to apply to him.
BJ Miller, you said?
BJ Miller. He's a palliative care physician who's helped more than 1,000 people to die. And he also happens to be a triple amputee. He was electrocuted as a college student and lost 3 of his limbs, and nonetheless rides a motorcycle. It's a crazy story. But his perspective on the longer time scales and mortality, I find to be really deeply, deeply affecting and inspiring. I would add to that our mutual friend Josh Waitzkin. I think he's a tremendous human being, a beautiful guy, also weird in the same way that we're all weird.
Weird is good. Weird is good. You gotta find your weird. Find your weird.
Yeah, exactly. But he's lived his life via a set of principles that I think apply equally to chess as they do to jiu-jitsu, as they do to foiling or surfing, as they do to many other subject areas. So his kind of principle-based living applies to many, many things. Let's see. I would have to include my friend Kevin Rose. I think being a good investor and entrepreneur across multiple areas requires a very unorthodox view of the world, and he's very, very good in many, many areas, and that's just a rarity, I think. So he would be someone on the list. Kevin Rose.
Yeah.
I would add to that, let's see. I'll add to that Mary Karr, Karr, who's best known for her memoirs, but her knack for both self-reflection in nonfiction and poetry combined in a very unusual way, very uncommon way, to blend both fact and beauty in a hybrid that I think is very uncommon. So I would add Mary Karr to that.
Amazing stuff. It feels like your brain would just keep going.
Yeah, I can keep going. So I can stop there. I mean, or I can keep going. I mean, I can certainly keep going. But those are a few who immediately come to mind. Neil Gaiman, also another writer, famous for his fiction, really entered the limelight through graphic novels for Sandman, which is an incredible narrative, but also wrote American Gods and many other things. I think his approach to fiction and revealing the truth through the masks which we all wear is very powerful. So Neil Gaiman would be another who I would add to that list. And that's excluding all the fancy billionaire investor, serial entrepreneur types. You know, I haven't mentioned any of those people. I could add those people as well, but from a creative perspective, from those who are not averse to engaging in the struggle of life, if that makes sense. Those are a few names that come to mind.
Great names. I'm going to stop you there, but if, as we're talking, other names come up that you're like, wait a minute, we got to add that name, Maurice, then you can do that. Feel free.
Okay.
What I'd like for you to do now is talk to me about some advice that you heard from somebody who's like, you consider a flat out genius, amazingly inspirational, that said something that ran so counter to your fundamental beliefs. And you thought, what? No, right? And I'm going to give you mine. I'm not going to allow you to get this one because I'm going to say it.
All right.
It's my show. So the one that shocked me was when someone said, don't follow your passion. That's a failed idea. Don't follow your passion. Just be great at something, even if it's not your passion. By being really good at that, or maybe being the best in the world, people will pay for it. And then you'll be able to go follow your passion. And for me, following my passion is integral to my being. So when I saw that, I was like, wait, you just blew up everything I tell kids when I go to high schools. Like, wait, is that real? And in the end, I still believe you should follow your passion. But to have someone say something so diametrically opposed to what I believe and make real arguments on the topic, it's important for your mindset to be able to look at that, even if you don't agree with it. Anybody said something to you that, again, somebody you really respected and said an idea to you that you were just mind blown. Like when you heard it, you said, what? No. Can you think of anything like that?
Yeah, I can think of a few.
A few even.
Yeah, I can think of a few.
Go, shoot.
I would say that one is from Naval Ravikant. I don't think he would mind me mentioning this, but talking about the difference between investments and insurance policies, and referring to some of the cryptocurrency or blockchain investments as insurance policies or hedges as opposed to investments, and the conceptual separation of those two things. To learn to, or attempt to, right? Not to necessarily accept as your default, but to begin to look at your life as a separation into two categories: investments, things where you hope to have a return on investment, versus insurance policies where you are effectively capping your downside or mitigating your downside risk. Is a very it was a bit of a foreign dichotomy for me, and I'm not saying that Naval presents it this way, but to look at my life through the lens of those two categories was very helpful, and that wouldn't have come naturally to me to think of it that way.
I agree. It's a pretty interesting idea.
Yes, that's one. I would say I can't remember his last name because it's extremely long and very difficult to pronounce, but Hank something or other, who is a famous track coach.
Okay. Can we get a letter for this Hank? Like Hank what?
Yeah, Henk. He has a long, I believe, Dutch last name. Who?
You got another track coach. I'll go with track coach.
Track coach is great. Who has produced many world champions. And his quote was, and you wouldn't think this would be antithetical to my orientation, but I'll comment on that separately. His quote was along the lines of, don't do as much as is possible, do the least that is necessary. And he worked with his athletes using that maxim, and had.
Hold on a second. We got Falfon in the chat saying Hank Kreichenhoff.
That's the one.
That's the direction. I'm sure I just butchered that horribly in Dutch, without any.
Kreichenhoff, something like that. But yes, that is
that guy.
That's the right person.
Okay.
And to think about that deeply is actually very involved.
Repeat what you said though, because I was.
So I'm paraphrasing here, and someone I'm sure in the chat could find the proper quote, but the objective is not to do as much as is possible, but the least that is necessary.
That's counterintuitive as ever. No question.
It is, because I think we all want to push to our red line. We all want to, or many, if we're type A, want to drive towards our limit. And if we're not doing that, we view it as laziness.
Exactly, dude. You just established the formula for lazy man society. Like that's literally don't do too much. Just do just barely what you need to do. I have a niece who says C's get degrees. She's like, C's get degrees. Telling my daughter, don't worry, C's get degrees. I'm like, don't talk to my daughter. What do you do? She's like, C's get degrees.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's what you got to do and get the degree. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's another one which is P equals MD, pass equals MD, which is a scarier one from the medical profession. But
what does it mean? Sorry.
Yeah, P equals MD.
Equals MD. Oh my God.
Yeah, PAC equals MD.
Oh, that's
and yeah, it's bad. And so there are, I think, examples of this where it is taken as a starting and an ending point where we get ourselves into trouble, like pass equals MD, or what was it? C equals degrees or something like that.
I think she said C means degrees. C means
degrees. But if we start with, rather than what is the maximum I can do versus what is the minimum that will accomplish my objective, I think we end up with a better, more resourced starting point. And then the question is, what do you do with that starting point, right? So do you do the bare minimum, or do you start with the minimum necessary to achieve your objective and then optimize from there? And those are different things. In the case of this particular track coach, I mean, he produced many, I want to say dozens of world records using this approach. And I remember, I'm blanking on his name. His last name is Francis. Incredible coach who worked with Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson, unfortunately, is historically associated with anabolics use in the Olympic Games. But the fact of the matter is, I think this is pretty uncontroversial. World-class sprinters all use drugs. I hate to tell everybody, but that's the fact of the matter. And Ben Johnson was incredible from a training perspective, and his coach would constantly say that one of his main responsibilities was not pushing his athletes like Ben Johnson, but preventing them from doing too much. And I think that combines with the Hank quote very well, because we think about physical training, sprinting as an example, and we understand the biophysical limiters on that, right? You can't sprint all day, every day, and sustain. You'll become injured, you'll die, who knows what. But what we perceive as intellectual endeavors, say chess, are still mediated through the physical body. I mean, these are interrelated things. They're not separate. Ultimately, they're still dependent on neurotransmitters and attentional focus and executive function and so on. Like, these are the same thing. One is just more obvious than the other. That's another that I think quite a lot about.
Oh, that's big. Stop the presses. Cut. I mean it. Cut. Listen, that one's huge. All right. Because there is a school of thought that you should study as much chess as possible every day. There are players who would study chess 10, 12, 14 hours every day. Every day. I can think of those players. Guys like Gadakomsky, guys like Peter Lako. These guys consume chess. A young phenom right now, Abhimanyu Mishra, who we've been following as he tries to become the youngest grandmaster of all time. All day, since he was 5.5 years old, he's been studying chess 6 to 8 hours every day. And now at 12, he's studying 8+ every single day. Every day. And I'm watching, he's gotten 2 grandmaster norms already. And I'm watching and I'm very concerned that he's experiencing overtraining. He's not been able to get to the grandmaster title. I think this is his 6th tournament. 2 of them he's got the norm. So he's definitely on his way. He just needs 1 more. But in 4 tournaments, he's faltered. And I think fatigue has played a role. And I think overtraining has played a role. I think if he sat back and rested, get that passion, get that hunger, that he'd come back so fresh to the board that things would fall into place. But his family is pushing hard because they need to break the record for the Grandmaster title by September 5th, when he'll turn 12 years and 7 months. And that's when Sergei Karyakin won the title as well. And so the idea of not doing too much is critical to the learning process. As, by the way, is a big idea, Tim, and I know you can speak to this, the idea of rest, sleep, and recuperation.
Yeah, these are part and parcel of the training in any field. And there are mutants, right? So they're just to like state the obvious, perhaps, like there are people who only need 4 hours of sleep per night. Like there are mutants among us. They do exist. But the sort of Rene Descartes duality of mind, body, and the separation is artificial. And anything that you experience intellectually, mentally, is mediated by physical substrate. So you should think about it as you would weight training, right? You're not going to weight train 8 hours a day. It's just not going to work. That isn't to say that you shouldn't study chess for 8 hours a day, but you do need to take into consideration the recuperation and the hyper adaptation, right? So what are you trying to achieve? And if we look at resistance training, like you apply a stimulus that causes micro trauma, then you provide nutrition and time and sleep such that you can hypercompensate and develop beyond the point of performance that you experienced previously, because your organism, the human body in this case, is anticipating future demands and thus overcompensates. This applies to the body. It also applies to the mind. And for that adaptation to take place, you need space between stimuli, period, full stop. That's it.
I just dropped recuperation and hyper adaptation on the chat, folks. That one just made my mind go poo, 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 poo. And that idea of needing the rest in order to make all that happen, got to have space between the stimuli. Got to have space between the stimuli. How do I drop that in a chess broadcast? That's my next question. Right in the middle of it. Right in the middle. Boom. Hit somebody. Where'd you come up with that, Maurice? That's a good one. Well, Tim, you've been with us all this time. I appreciate you. Thank you so, so much for joining us. I think we're going to just let that be the bow, because that is the chess training right here. We were looking for, look, don't overtrain, folks. Don't study too much, and certainly don't study openings and all that. We're talking about efficient, is what I got. Efficient. What was your term, Tim, for the high frequency training? What is the most you can get out of the work that you're putting in, right? Mm-hmm. And the Hank name that we got it written down. Make sure you look up those kind of trainers, folks. Dropping the knowledge. Absolutely. This was Knowledge College today. Tim Ferris, the man. You can find his books, 4 Hour Work Week, Tool of Titans. You might want to check out 4 Hour Body as well. You might want to check out Tribe of Mentors. You might want to check that out, because you might catch a familiar name amongst the pages. You might get a familiar name amongst the pages, folks. Show him some love with these great books that he's written. This guy is a thinker, as you can tell. He's a hacker. We can't go through all the stuff that he knows just in the 90 minutes that he was here. Too much stuff. Get his books, get his podcast. I like that Steve Condi said, when is 4 Hour Grandmaster coming out? That's a good one, Steve. That's a good one.
Well, I'll need a co-author for that one.
Yeah, we work on 4 Hour Grandmaster. Steve, keep waiting. Keep waiting on that. But Tim, this has been an absolute pleasure, folks. We're going to let Tim go. And when we come back, we're going to talk some hardcore chess. Tim Tim is not comfortable enough to play some hand and brain. He's still hacking chess. When he comes
Still
back,
working on it.
we'll bring you back. Tim, when you're ready, you're going to team up with me, and we're going to do some hand and brain. But what we're going to continue with is with some hardcore chess that we're going to talk about. So stay with us. Tim, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you. Great to see you, man. Good to hang out. Soon. Take care.
All right. Take care.
If you want to see more of these videos, don't forget to click the subscribe button, and please follow me on twitch.tv/GMAshley.